Today we are solving quadratic equations by graphing and factoring. So our essential question is, how can I solve quadratic equations by graphing or factoring? That makes sense.
And so we want to talk about what is a zero. It says a zero of a function. It's a value of the input x that makes the output, which is y, equal to 0. So basically, in so many words, the 0 is the same as the x-intercept.
Oh.
So right here on this graph, if you look, Miss Boyd's going to highlight the two
Yes.
x-intercepts.
So here's our first one. It's where it crosses the x-axis.
Right.
And here's our other one.
Those are the zeros. You will hear this. Functions will have zeros. They'll also be called x-intercepts. They are equal to each other.
All right.
And equations have solutions or roots. So we're going to really emphasize, which is right below here, we're going to be eventually using factoring to find zeros, roots, or x-intercepts. Why I say that? They all are the same answer.
Okay. I'm just going to write that. These are all the same.
And even down below, if you keep going, I'll let Miss Boyd write that. The roots of an equation are the values of the variable that make the equation true. So the solutions to the quadratic equation, here's the quadratic equation,
Gotcha.
they are roots, zeros, x-intercepts. And notice we wrote roots equals zeros equals x-intercepts.
Don't forget that.
Yes, because I'm going to use it, we're going to use it interchangeably.
Yeah.
They mean all the same thing.
Okay.
And so now on the next page, I'm going to go there. And let's just quickly talk about trinomials and binomials. When I say the word trinomials, we are referring to quadratic expressions with 3 terms.
So this one has an x squared, just an x, no x.
Right, and what we mean when we say terms is terms are separated by plus signs or minus signs.
Got it.
Exactly. A binomial is a quadratic expression with 2 terms. 1, 2. So right here, it talks about finding the zeros using a graphing calculator. We are not going to even cover that until class, so I'm going to skip right by it right now. And I'm going to go to the next page, and that's right here.
Okay.
What we're going to focus on today is your favorite thing of all. It's called factoring, and it won't go away, so you want to learn it. Here's the steps. Today we're going to talk about factoring when A, maybe circle the A, is equal to 1. That's the easy factoring.
Yes.
Today is the easy day. So here are the steps. Okay, she's going to highlight it. We are going to set the function equal to 0 because remember, why, Miss Boyd? Why am I setting a function equal to 0? Let's talk about this.
I don't know.
Well, we'll tell you why. We're setting it equal to 0 because the output is our y.
Oh,
If it's an x-intercept, it's a point on the x-axis, and y is equal to 0. So I want to explain why you're setting it to 0. It's not just because Miss Young and Miss Boyd told you to.
We want it to equal 0.
Right. The output should be 0. Right. Number 2, is there a greatest common factor? And we'll talk about that more. Then we're going to find factors of C that add to B and so forth. Let's just go through. We're going to go through the steps and we'll talk through them as we actually factor a problem right now.
Perfect.
So step number 1, I'm going to refer to as we go along, is, first of all, is A equal to 1, Miss Boyd?
Yeah,
is it?
There's nothing here.
Right.
So
now we can follow these steps. Step number 1, you're going to set x squared minus 4x minus 12 equal to 0.
All right.
So you're basically saying that f of x is equal to 0. Right. Done.
All right.
Now you're going to ask, is there a greatest common factor? What that means is you're going to look at your leading coefficients. The negative 12, the negative 4. I'm kind of going backwards. Sorry.
Me too.
Sorry.
That's the way I like
the
to go.
1, so I look, the 1 is in there, then negative 4, then negative 12. Is there a number that will divide evenly into all of them? Only 1.
Right.
So there isn't a greatest common factor. So we skip that step, and now we have to find factors of C that add to B. So maybe we'll do a little,
this is our B, this is our C.
Right, C. So maybe we'll do a little side note.
Sure.
And let's write a little side note and maybe write factors of 12. That's what we're going to do.
So she's right now, she jumped ahead, we didn't explain this.
Oh,
we
sorry.
want to get our C, things that multiply together to get us are negative 12.
Exactly.
Okay.
Got it. So if we're going to find factors of C that add to B.
Factors
Of
and it's
negative 12. That's what we want.
Okay.
So we're going to write some. So I think of 4 and negative 3, right? Or 6 and 2. And actually, I don't really worry. You know
I
what?
don't do the negatives either.
No, let's not
We'll do
worry
that
about the
later.
negatives because we can always throw those in
Yes.
after. So 4 and 3, 6 and 2, 12 and 1. That's it.
Yep.
All right, those are numbers that multiply to 12.
Mhm.
Now, which ones will either add or subtract to 4? Right? The difference between them is 4. It's only,
it's only this
6 and 2.
Yeah.
So those are the numbers we're going to use when we set up our factoring problem right now. So in order to factor, we're going to write 2 sets of parentheses.
Okay.
Just like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Remember? Yep.
I didn't know where you're going.
That's
Sorry.
where I'm going.
There we
Yep.
go.
And set it equal to 0 still.
Yep.
When you're factoring, you're going to write an x and an x. The reason you're going to do that is x times x is x squared. Now, the outside two numbers are the 6 and the 2. So let's just write 6 and 2. Don't worry about
Okay.
the signs right now.
I'm gonna do
6 and
I'm
2.
gonna do 2.
We know they multiply to 12
Right.
and they have a difference of 4.
Right.
Now we have to decide which one gets the plus, which one gets the minus.
There's only one can, because if we multiply two numbers together, one has to be
Yes.
positive, one has to be negative to get a negative 12.
Right.
But if we want a negative 4, that means our
Bigger number has to
be
have it.
negative.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's done.
Perfect.
So now if you check that, you look, negative 6 times 2 is a negative 12,
Mhm.
and a negative 6 plus 2 is a negative 4.
Yes.
So they have to
Perfect.
multiply to C and add or subtract to B.
Got it.
Okay? So now what we do, we're not done.
No.
We have to set each factor
Separate.
equal to 0.
I'm going to
So-
take this one,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to do x minus 6 equals 0.
Right.
Well, then we just solve that.
Right.
We add 6, and x is going to equal
6.
So
Now-
that's our first answer.
Right. Now we set the other one equal to 0.
I'm going to set this one equal to 0. I'm going to move it over
Mhm.
here. We got x plus 2 equals 0. Well, we know that that's 2, but
Right.
if we did the math, or
Mhm.
sorry, negative 2.
Mhm.
See, I'm jumping ahead.
I know.
You make silly mistakes when
Sorry.
you don't do
I
the
know.
math.
I know.
All right. So our other one is x is negative 2.
Right. So guess what?
We're
We're
done.
done.
We
Though,
found
so
them.
maybe we circle or highlight? We got
Yeah.
highlighted. So the two answers are 6 and negative 2. We have found the zeros,
Mhm.
which are the x-intercepts, which are
Yes.
also the roots. That's it. All right. Should we go down to example 4? Let's see.
Sure.
I wonder, should we do example 4? It's very similar.
It's very easy, yeah.
Should
Why
we
don't
go
do
to
the
a
next
harder one?
Yeah.
Let's go to example 6
Okay.
right now. And if we, actually, we could go.
If
But-
you go back,
Yeah.
I think on the bottom there was one.
Oh,
let's do
that's
that
what
one.
I wanted to do.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go through, we're gonna go through the steps.
Okay.
Step 1, set the function equal to 0.
X squared minus 8x equals 0.
So really, we're changing g of x to 0.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Mhm.
Step 2 is there a greatest common factor? So look at both of those
Well, we've got
terms.
1 and 8.
And what else though? What I
and
forgot to say the last
0.
problem though, look at there's only 2 terms.
Yeah.
There's not 3. They
It's a
each
binomial
have
this
an
time.
they each have an x in common, don't they?
Mhm.
So we do have a greatest common
Got it.
factor. The greatest common factor is
X.
x. A lot of times when you have a binomial, you're going to have x as your greatest common
Mhm.
factor. So we're going to factor out an x right now. We're going to
Okay.
write x down below, and in parentheses, what's left over?
Well,
X.
x times x gives me my x
Yep.
squared,
Hmm,
and x times a negative 8 would give me
Right.
that 8x.
We're done. It's factored.
Wow.
That's
that
it.
was easy.
When it's a binomial, can be really easy. So now let's set each
Now we
one
gotta set
equal
them
to
equal to
0.
zero.
X equal to 0, and then x.
Oh, that's done.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
And then x minus
And then
8 equal to
x
0.
Minus 8 equals 0. Well, if we solve it, we add 8, so x equals 8.
Exactly.
Also.
Highlight
Nice.
it. Those are the two answers.
Nice.
Okay, are we ready?
Ready.
Example 6. Let's do that.
All right.
Now notice, the other one said f of x equals g of x equals, there is no
Yeah.
function. So
We just gotta move that over to get it equal
yes,
to 0.
exactly. So we're going to add 4 to both sides right away, because remember you set the function equal to 0.
So we're left with x squared
Minus 4x plus 4 equals 0.
0.
We have a trinomial.
Trinomial.
It's not going to be the
So
easy
there's
factoring.
no greatest
So
common
now,
factor.
well, there could be, so we want to look at the leading coefficients to make
Okay.
sure.
Well, we have
I
one.
see it, so right away, no.
Right away, we're done.
There's no greatest common factor. So
Okay.
now let's go to the side,
Mhm.
and remember, we're going to find factors of 4.
Because we need our C.
Right,
This
so
is our A, this is our B, this
we're
is
finding
our
factors of
C.
C, so make sure
We're
they
finding
know
this
that. Yes. So now,
I'll just
oh,
put C.
yes. So all I can think of is 2 times 2 and 4 times 4.
Yeah, 1 times 4.
I mean, that's what I
1 times
meant.
4 and 2 times 2.
Thank you, Ms. Floyd.
Good.
Right. So which one are we going to use?
Well, we're going to use this one because we need them to add together to get 4. A
Mhm.
negative 4.
Right.
And here, if we added them, we'd get a 5. Or if we subtracted them,
You
we'd
get a 3, so you're never going to get it.
Nope,
So,
so we're gonna use this
all
one.
right, let's set up our 2
All right,
parentheses.
we got X and X.
Yep.
And we're going to put the 2 in.
2 and the
and
2.
the 2.
Notice we don't put the signs in.
No.
That's why we wanted to take the signs away out of the
Mhm.
factoring.
Do that at the very end.
Now we need, oh, look at the plus sign. You know, now I'm going to tell you a hint right now. Either both signs are going to be negative or both signs are going to be positive, because a
Okay.
negative times a negative is a positive,
Yep.
and a positive times a positive is still a
Okay.
positive. Well, if the middle term has a negative,
They
we have to be
'cause We
negative.
have to add them together to get
Right.
-4.
Yes.
So negative 2 times negative 2 gives us a positive 4.
Right.
Negative 2 plus negative 2 gives us a negative 4.
Mhm.
Great.
Set it
So now
equal
we
to
set it
0.
equal to 0. X minus 2
And
equals
make sure
0.
we, up there, we set that right there. equal
Oh,
to 0.
yeah. Yep. I'm sorry.
So they just know it's still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We solve. We add 2.
Yeah.
Miss Young, we're going to get the same thing.
Right. So guess what? All you have to write is x equals 2.
We don't have to do it twice. 'Cause
No.
This is the exact
What it
same
means
thing.
when you get the same answer, that's called a double root.
Oh.
And so you don't have to write x equals 2, x equals 2.
'Cause we know
Once
it's
you
the
have
same
it,
thing.
you're good. You write x equals 2 and you're done.
Okay.
So I just want to see, I know I see a word problem that definitely we're not going to do.
No.
I just want to see what is, oh, should we skip that one and just do the, remember that
I
one we
think
skipped?
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's make sure we're clear on these video questions.
Okay.
Find the zeros of the quadratic function using factoring. So you're going to factor.
Mhm.
You're going to follow the steps exactly like Miss Boyd and I did, and you're going to find the 2 zeros.
Yep, you're going to find your 2 numbers that
Right.
go in, but then you got to set them equal to 0 to get your actual zeros.
Right, so you're finding zeros, which are intercepts, which are roots.
Mhm.
Over here, same thing. Find the zeros.
But this one's easy because it's just a binomial.
Right, so right away, you have a greatest common factor. We're going to tell you right now, it is going to be X.
See ya.
Goodbye.